Hi guys, Mike the Gaming Dad here and welcome back to the channel. Recently I've been asked to do a guide on how to play on survival mode as a mage. And the good news is a lot of the tips that work for mages anyway in normal play also work in survival mode. The latter just adds in the extra complexities of hunger, warmth and fatigue and so on. And one of the keys to success with mages is all to do with survivability. Mages generally are squishy versus warrior types, and this is especially true in the early game. And if you make mistakes, it can become extremely challenging in the mid game as the enemies level around you and the game progressively gets harder. That being said, a pure mage is a really fun way of playing Skyrim. You can't rely on brute force, or sneaky archering your way through every situation. It requires you to think creatively before engaging in combat, and you'll have to combine offense with defense to ensure your lack of armor doesn't leave you caught out. We've all been here, right? Whether it be a group of bandits, a saber cat interrupting your morning stroll, or that pesky arrow to the heel, followed by a, oh well, they must have run off. It can be infuriating trying to survive in Skyrim as a mage. I hope this list of tips will set you upon your way to succeeding and enjoying one of the most rewarding playstyles in Skyrim. So starting off, the game will initially push new players down the warrior route, putting armour on your back and a one-handed weapon in your hand. But this isn't what you want when playing a mage. If you want to do it properly, you want to get yourself a set of robes right. No armour at all. Well, full robes means an armour rating of 0. So how do I go about surviving? Starting out with the very basics, this is done through the flesh spells in the alteration tree. And the alteration spells should be part of the foundation of all mage builds. The skill tree contains many important perks, such as the mage armour perks, which massively increase the effectiveness of the flesh spells. In survival mode, however, we have the addition of temperature. Many areas in Skyrim, especially at night time, range from chilly to downright freezing. And as you can see here, a lot of robes carry the same warmth rating of 27. And this is average, certainly not warm, and it's much lower than fur armour. It's definitely not going to cut it in the really cold areas of the map. Well, you can grab yourself a set of hooded Thalmor robes early on in the game. As soon as you leave Helgen Cave you can find these at the Talos Shrine. And these carry a warmth rating of 54, which is warm. You can grab hold of these, or, when you first get to Whiterun and have a bit of gold in your possession, take a carriage up to Solitude. Once here, visit Radiant Raiment. And what I recommend doing in survival mode is upgrading a few of your pieces of clothing, like any boots you may have found, to the fine version. Fine clothing sits in the warm category, the same as glass armour and above, and it therefore has the higher of the warmth ratings. I'd also recommend buying a set of fine clothes, a fine hat and some gloves. The gloves you can wear all the time. But why do you need to get all this? Well, at the moment I'm wearing the novice hood, novice robes you get inside the Helgen jail cell, along with a standard set of boots. And this carries a warmth rating of 58. I'll now equip the fine set and gloves, and now our warmth rating is 120. And in survival mode I use this set when needing to get through the really cold areas, or at night time, and then switch to our cooler mage set when in the warmer areas, or in combat situations. Normal mage robes just won't cut it in the cold, and you'll really notice how quickly your character gets cold and loses their health bar. You can also buy robes from Radiant Raiment with higher warmth ratings, like these college robes. And later on in the game, when you can enchant your own gear, this is what I recommend using. A set of these, fine boots, a warmer mage hood and some gloves, and you'll have the same warmth rating as a full fine clothing set. But at the moment, whilst your enchanting is low, just get used to travelling with an extra set of warm clothing, plus it feels more immersive I feel. There are two types of damage in Skyrim, physical and magical, and because of the overall squishiness of mages, another smart choice early on is to make inroads into raising your magic resistance. Now you could pick a race like the Breton, who start out with a 25% resistance to all magic from the off, and Bretons are a great choice, but it's not essential. There are other ways of raising your magic resistance in Skyrim. You could, for example, go out and grab the Lordstone very early on, and what this does is it gives you an extra 50 points of physical damage armour, but plus 25% magic resistance. And this stone is such a great choice across many playstyles. As a Breton now we will resist 50% of all magic, and this isn't just harmful spells. Dragon Breath is classed as magic in Skyrim, so magic resistance is huge overall. There are lots of other ways you can raise this as well. Here are just some of them on the screen now. Remember though that the resistance cap is 85%, so once you hit this you don't need to waste going any higher as it won't count. But if you do hit 85%, you're already going to be incredibly tanky versus magic, and it's just physical attacks you'll need to worry about. Another way you could raise your resistance is through alchemy, and magic resistance is actually one of the easiest potions to make. There are so many ingredients that increase resistance. In fact, all of these items on the screen here have it as their first effect, meaning you can eat these to get it as well. If you did want to make your own resistance potions though, I'd recommend using lavender and tundra cotton, two very common ingredients, and both can be grown, meaning you could set up farming these yourself. Whilst we are on the subject of alchemy, don't forget to utilise it. Mages can benefit so much from a strong alchemy setup. You're going to want to carry magicka potions at all times, and a really easy one of these is creep cluster and red mountain flower, both of which can be grown. Regenerate magicka is also a useful potion to have. Garlic and salt pile can make this, two common ingredients in Skyrim. And lastly, potions which fortify different schools of magic, like Ash, Creep Cluster and Glowing Mushroom, which make a fortified destruction potion. I know one of my mistakes when I first played as a mage was not using alchemy enough. On the subject of standing stones, I just also want to mention something which I fell into the trap of the first time I tried mage play. And there are a couple of stones in the game which are quite obviously aimed at mage characters, such as the Apprentice Stone. And this one states that it recovers magicka faster at the cost of making you more susceptible to magicka damage. Okay, well more magicka sounds good, right? Well, wrong. This stone does indeed regenerate magicka faster, twice as fast to be exact, but magicka regen in combat situations is drastically reduced anyway, so it's not going to recover that much faster when you need it the most. Furthermore, it makes you twice as vulnerable to magic. And remember what we spoke about earlier and magic resistance. This is very bad, and also makes you a lot easier to kill by dragons, and the last thing mages need is being more squishy. The other stone that lends itself to magic users is the Atronach Stone, and what this one does is it grants the user 50 extra magicka, 50% absorb spells, but at the cost of your magicka regen being cut in half. Now this stone is a lot better than the Apprentice Stone, but just be wary of the type of character you want to be. If you don't want to use any conjuration, this is fine, but if conjuration is going to form a significant part of your playstyle, this stone isn't the one for you. But why? Well, the stone can actually absorb your conjured summons. You do get the magicka back, but nothing happens. See here how the wolf isn't summoned, and this isn't what you want if you really need to summon that creature as you have a few bandits after you. It's taken me 4 attempts here just to summon this wolf. I don't want to tell you which stones not to use, but just be mindful of your choice and how it will affect your character. We've spoken briefly about temperature. Well, what about fatigue? Fatigue is a mage's worst nightmare, and this is because fatigue drains your magicka bar. See how there is a slight red line in my magicka in the bottom left? Well, this is how tired we are, and that red will grow as our tiredness progresses until we rest. And you can see this in our active effects. Right now it is at drained, which is the first of the negative states. And for those that are watching my survival mode let's play, we're playing as a Nord warrior. Now my Nord warrior only uses restoration magic, so magicka isn't too much of a big deal. At times I've been playing and nearly 50% of my magic bar is gone, as we've caught a carriage somewhere and then I haven't slept and my Nord is knackered. And we can get away with it, but as a mage you really can't. Rest often and when you can. You don't want your overall magicka reduced. Two of the other major changes in survival mode are hunger and carry weight, and the latter being cut in half. As a mage it's unlikely you're going to be investing in stamina points. Magicka and health are your main priorities, so this means you won't be increasing your total carry weight as much as warrior builds. It's therefore more worthwhile as a mage looking at the carry weight versus hunger, restoration of food. Notice how this cooked beef has a carry weight of 0.5 and restores 380 points of hunger. This means for every 0.1 of carry weight, we're getting 72 points of hunger restoration. Now look at this cooked pogfish. It weighs 1 and restores 220 points, so a ratio of only 22, nearly 4 times worse than the beef. And this chicken though weighs 0.2 and restores 220, so this ratio is 110. Well, that's the best yet. That's 5 times better than the pogfish. And the pheasant roast is the same. Well, this rabbit haunch only weighs 0.1 and restores 220 points, as does the salmon steak and the seared slaughterfish. And these may seem like small differences, but they'll make a big difference to maximising your carry weight. I've also got some baked potatoes which also only weigh 0.1, but these only restore 18 points, so this item actually has the worst ratio of all of the above. It's worthwhile getting into a habit of checking this to see what you should and shouldn't be carrying. You can, of course, if you have the anniversary edition, make yourself a backpack, and mages handily have their own version which adds 75 carry weight points and 20 points of magicka. If you don't have AE though, or haven't added the Creation Club content separately, you won't be able to get hold of this. Another tip I definitely fell into the trap of not doing years back when I first tried mages is using all of your skills of magic. It sounds the opposite of my tip for other builds, which is don't become a jack of all trades, but what I mean is don't go out and think, well, destruction magic is what I'll do, I'm a destruction mage. And that's what I did. I went straight for damage dealing. And destruction magic can be good, but always trying to pummel your enemies just won't work as a mage early on. In fact, some of the strongest mage skills for being offensive aren't actually offensive at all, like illusion or conjuration. And this is where strategy comes into mage play. Being a successful mage is all about having a plan, and that could be, well, I'm outnumbered here and it's cold, so I can't be getting into a long fight, so I'll sneak up and I'll cast fear on one of the enemies and let them fight each other. I don't actually need to engage them here. They can fight and eventually one will kill the other, and then I'll kill the weakened survivor, and then what I might do after that is I'll use conjuration and I'll raise one of them, so now I'll have a follower to help me in the next encounter. And now we've taken both of these down and we've barely had to engage them at all. And this type of gameplay is especially vital if you want to really test yourself on high difficulties. I didn't used to think mage play on legendary difficulty was possible, until I realised that difficulty only affects your damage output, so destruction magic. It doesn't affect the effectiveness of non-combat magic like illusion, or the strength of your summons. Engaging can be fun, but so can sitting back and letting others do the work for you. A really basic tip here, but carry a dagger to fall back on. Another tip I have fallen foul of. I thought I can do this using solely magic, and that was until I came up against a Thalmor agent who used storm magic and summoned storm Atronachs. Storm magic also drains your magicka, and I was out, I mean completely out. I had no potions left, no magic, and I didn't have a dagger or anything to use, so I was toast. I mean, it makes sense as well. I mean, mages would carry a dagger or something. Another basic tip, but carry torches as well, and this goes for all survival mode playthroughs. Torches add 50 points of warmth, so are really useful for keeping yourself from the effects of cold for longer in the really cold reaches of Skyrim. They also add quite a nice immersive feel to exploring dungeons and crypts, I think. Back to the point of survivability, you may want to try travelling alone on a playthrough, completely followerless, and that's fine, but if not, or you're relatively new to mage play, I recommend getting yourself some followers. The best way of keeping a squishy mage from dying is to keep the heat focused on someone else. As a warrior, I like ranged mage or archer followers, whilst I'm up close fighting. Serana is the one exception to this as she is immortal, but as a mage, don't get yourself another mage or archer who also wants to stand back. Get yourself a heavy armoured tank who will stand and take punishment so you can use your spells from afar, and Lydia is a great option for this. So during any battle now you will have a follower plus your conjured summons, and this is a good start, but we can get more. Take a trip to the Thirsk Mead Hall on Solstheim, and here you'll see that some Reekling have taken the place over. When you get near the door, one will approach you and ask you to come inside. It's quite an odd encounter, but just go with it. Inside, go and talk to the chief who will also talk to you, and this will start the quest, the Chief of Thirsk Hall, whereby we will have to help him 3 times. The first task is to retrieve a bristleback hog named Bilgmuk. The second task is to find 10 Scathecraw, and the final task is to defend the hall from Nordic raiders. If you do all 3 tasks for the chief, he will ask you if you want to challenge him for the title of chief because you are strong. And just run with this, and fight the chief in combat, and once you've defeated him, you will assume the role of chief of the Thirsk Hall Reeklings. I mean, Skyrim is a weird game, isn't it? What this allows you to do now though is use Reeklings as additional followers. Allow your current follower to leave your service, it won't work if you still got them, and ask one of the Reeklings to follow you. The Reeklings class as pets in Skyrim, meaning you can then go back and pick up another follower.
Lead the way.
So here we have 3 followers in our gang now, and this is still very early. I think I was about level 5 now. You don't need to be a high level to do this, and having more followers is a great way of ensuring that you aren't the target. I also recommend going and joining the College of Winterhold. A mage joining the college. This is groundbreaking stuff, isn't it? But no, I don't mean so you can go and complete the mage questline. First, what you want to do is go and visit your new living quarters and grab the void salts in your room. Now go down into the midden and find the Atronach Forge. And when you are here, take the broom from next to this table. And also grab the Auric Alchemy ingot on top. Put these into the offering box in front of the forge, along with the Greater Soul Gem. It doesn't need to be a filled one in order to do this. Now pull the lever, and what this will do is make you a staff of the Storm Atronach. And let's give this a whirl. So now, as well as Lydia and a Reekling, we've also got a very powerful Storm Atronach at our fingertips. And these aren't normally available until your conjuration skill is much higher. I mean, ours is level 29 and we're only level 6 overall. Staffs give you access to spells you might not otherwise be able to use, and this one is a great option. The Atronach Forge isn't just good for making staffs though. Also get into the habit of putting any soul gem, a ruby, and a salt pile in. And this will make you fire salts. And fire salts are needed for one of the best foodstuffs in the entire game in survivor mode, hot soup. This stuff not only raises hunger and health, but it adds 25 points of overall warmth and restores 200 points of cold. You should always carry a few of these if exploring cold areas of the map. Another more basic tip, but don't neglect your shouts. I got into a habit of not shouting as often as a mage. I don't know why, I think subconsciously I didn't think I was a Dragonborn, but some shouts actually synergise really well with mages. Take the Fire Breath shout for example. Augmented Flames in the Destruction Tree actually also increases the effectiveness of your shout, so they're a good tool to be able to fall back on. And my last tip in this list is to get hold of the Flame Cloak spell when you can. Vendors will carry this once your destruction hits level 40 and above. Flame Cloak is an interesting one. On the one side it's infuriating, to me anyway, how it doesn't actually make you any warmer in survivor mode. But what it does do is it allows you to swim in freezing cold water and not take any damage or feel the cold. and this is me walking into freezing waters without it. Look at how I instantly felt the effects of the cold, and now my health bar is slowly dropping. Now I'll do the same swim with the flame cloak spell on. And the water now has no effect on us. And this might feel like a minor thing, but there are a few times in the game that require you to get across cold water, say for example when you need to go visit Septimus, so it's useful to have this for when you need it. Eventually, as you reach the later stages of the game, you want to have your enchanting skill set up so you can make your own powerful mage gear, maybe even negate the cost of using some skills of magic altogether, but early on playing as a mage can be difficult. I hope these early tips will help you to set yourself up playing as a mage in survivor mode. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed. I'm Mike the Gaming Dad and I'll see you next time.